Hello. Welcome to the Nutrition and Alternative Medicine Show. I'm JJ Flazanes, your host, and thank you for downloading today's show. Today's show, personal habits that secretly undermine success. This show originally appeared on Amplify Your Success podcast with Melanie Benson Strict. She's a friend of mine. She's a business coach. She's a great business coach. And I invite you to check out her site, melaniebenson.com, as well as her podcast, Amplify Your Success. So whether you work for someone or have secret desires to write a book or start working for yourself in some capacity or just generate more of your creative flow and integrity around everything that you do in your life, definitely worth checking out Amplify Your Success podcast. So their show is originally called Fueling Your Success from the Inside Out, and Melanie just asked really great questions, and I wanted to share it with you because I think she did it in a way that I hadn't done before. So hopefully there's some new information and new inspiration for you on today's show. Today is February 6th, and we are 6 days into our 30-day manifestation challenge. For those of you that have been hearing about it and maybe you're on the fence about it, you thought about it, you might want to do it in the future, just to let you know the next time we're doing it is May. So if you're at all interested, if you're on the fence, I'd jump now, because after about 48 hours from this point, I will stop letting people in to this group, which we've already started, but you can come in and catch up at this point. In a couple of days, it's going to be a little bit too much momentum forward and too much work to go back and watch some of the videos just to get caught up. So if you're interested, come on over to jjflazanes.com, go to the free tools and resources, and then sign up for the 30-day manifestation challenge. And while you're in there, in the free tools and resources, what I'm going to start doing here on the podcast in about 30 or 60 days is to do some live, quote unquote live coaching sessions, because we do record this show, but it'll be a live teaching lesson within a show for you, the audience, to learn and to get some ideas about your own stuff. And if you're someone who would love to have a free session and you're interested in being coached on the air, you can fill out the form under the free tools and resources called Win a Free Session. So win a free session, or you can go to winafreesession.com. That'll take you straight there, and you can fill out the form and submit yourself to be considered for a free session with me on air. So today's show, again, is mostly around our personal habits, and some of them will be things that you know, and some of them will be things you've never considered that secretly sabotage you. So I hope you enjoy today's show.
You are listening to Amplify Your Success podcast, and today my friend JJ Flazanes and I are talking about how to fuel your success from the inside out.
Welcome to the Amplify Your Success podcast. Hey, are you a thought leader, creative entrepreneur, or change maker and want to magnify your impact, boost influence while creating a financial abundance? Stay tuned for today's inspiring episode with your host, Melanie Benson.
Hello there, inspired entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's Melanie Benson here. And today we're talking about mindset and habits and really being able to up your game from the inside out. One of the most sustainable ways to power up your business. Let's get into the episode. Welcome, business leaders and inspired entrepreneurs. I'm excited for this conversation with my friend JJ Flazanes today. So let me just give you a little bit of background on JJ. She is an empowerment strategist. She is the host of several podcast shows, including Fit to Love and Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. She is the director of Invisible Fitness, an Amazon best-selling author of Fit to Love, How to Get Physically, Emotionally, and Spiritually Fit to Attract the Love of Your Life, and author of Knack Absolute Abs, which I absolutely am going to have to go read after doing this because I didn't even know she wrote this book, but it's Routines for a Fit and Firm Core. And, one of the things about JJ is I love how extraordinary she is, how many great tips and insights she has. And she kind of spans a few different parts of the world. She was named Best Personal Trainer in Los Angeles for 2007 by Elite Traveler magazine. She's been in multiple national magazines, including Shape and Fitness, Muscle and Fitness Hers. She's been all over the TV on NBC, CBS, Fox 11, KTLA. And she recently wrote a new book and it's called The Invisible Fitness Formula, 5 Secrets to Release Weight and In-Body Shame, which debuted at number 2 on the Amazon bestseller list. So I got to tell you, JJ's got a lot of insight, a lot of knowledge, and she is so passionate about fueling up from the inside out, just like I am. I really wanted to bring her on today to share some of her insights and tips. So JJ, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Melanie. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. You're so fun, and I love our conversations, and hopefully there can be some good stuff for your audience as well.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I am like obsessed with JJ's. She eats paleo like I do, like 99% of the time, and we both like geek out on all these great recipes. And I'm always stalking her Instagram page to see what she's cooking now. So I get a lot of my inspiration from JJ. And we had a really fun outing one time where she brought all these different types of non-dairy cheeses, and I was just obsessed. So she's been one of my role models as well as I transitioned into paleo.
Well, thanks. I actually took a picture of that and put that on Instagram because I was super excited to show you and share with you all the great things. Because most people think when it's time to change a diet or eliminate some things from your diet, people get depressed and think, oh my God, I'm going to be restricted. I'm not going to be able to have any fun. Where are the fun foods? And I was so excited to be able to share with you all the fun foods that you can eat and that are delicious and still be paleo and gluten-free and dairy-free. And so it was really fun for me to also share that with you.
Yeah. And it helped balance out the wine, right?
Yeah, you can't have wine without snacks.
Exactly. Good
Cheese and
snacks.
crackers, right. Paleo, cheese and crackers.
Right. Well, how did you get into this journey with fitness and healing and, paleo diet and all? I mean, you're bringing a lot of worlds together through your work. I'm always fascinated what got someone to the place they are now.
Well, that's a big, long story that we'll just summarize into that I've always been conscious about obviously the way I look on some levels, right? Because it's just something that you get introduced to and compare yourself to others as you're growing up. And it wasn't until recently that I could identify some of that as body shame, which is why this last book is really a culmination of 20 years of being a personal trainer and being able to finally identify that it's body shame. Hello. And why couldn't I put those words together years ago? But it's that depth of, yes, I care about how I look, but I care more about how I feel, and I care about how I age. And I've got sort of that gift of sight where I can see in the future. If I have someone tell me, if you do this now, in 5 years, this is what's going to happen. And I don't want that to happen. And I understand and I believe them and I trust them because it's based on science or it's based on some kind of philosophy that I agree with, then I'm not going to do it. It's really that simple for me. And I know I'm weird. Not most people are like that. You can tell them, hey, don't do this or this and this, but they're like, I don't care. I love it anyway. I'm doing it anyway. So it's taking that curiosity and that mindset of being future focused and being able to see all the sciences and all the biochemistry and all of the aging and the hormones and things that just go into our life and go, okay, you can take a look around at people, how they age, and you can see who's doing it well, who takes care of themselves and who doesn't. I was on a recent interview with somebody in the Midwest on a radio station, and he said to me, I'm looking at your bio and you've been in the business for 20 years, but you look like you just graduated from college. And I said, well, thank you. It's my healthy lifestyle, right? Like what you do now affects you later. And the better you do now, I mean, sure, people understand that when it comes to finances. Well, it's the same thing with your health.
I read your book and reviewed it for you, which was a fantastic book on your latest book.
The Invisible Fitness Formula.
Yes, thank you. The Invisible Fitness Formula. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was this new way of looking at our bodies. And first of all, I just want to say thank you for making a stand in the world for, healthy bodies looking in a lot of different ways. It's funny, like over the years, I ended up having body shame for a lot of different versions of my body. At one time it was because I was too thin, believe it or not. And then, now, I've kind of gone to the other side of the spectrum and, in my 50s, my body's changed a lot. And I realized like body shame has like morphed for me over the years. And the more that I love myself, no matter what I look like, it really does change my confidence and my courage and, how much I want to get out there and do things. And so how much is body shame, regardless of what it's for, tie into our confidence and our self-esteem?
I think that depends on how deeply rooted it is in and connected to your self-worth.
Mm.
And that's where if you can separate and see things from an objective point of view. So let's say, I don't know, like there are habits and patterns that people have that when you look at it, you say that's not healthy. And you just know that it's not. And you know that it's connected to some kind of lack of self-worth. Or you can look and say, well, there are efforts that I could make, but I don't want to. And I'm okay with that, right? It just depends on how much does it affect your sense of self-worth. Someone can feel absolutely perfectly whole in all areas and say, well, I know that there are things that I could do for my body that I'm not doing. And there's a reason I'm not doing that. I'm consciously choosing not to do that. And I'm okay to suffer the consequences of that. But then there's the majority of people that sometimes say, well, I should and I should and I should be doing something, but I'm not. And then that kind of ties into that's because I don't value those things very much. It's not just because I don't have time or I don't make time for it. I don't value it compared to making money or compared to traveling the world or compared to eating fun foods because I don't ever want to feel restricted. So I absolutely will not change what I eat because I fear feeling restricted. So I think the body shame conversation is going to change for some people. I think some people are in denial that they don't have it and they do. And then I think some people, I think we all have it on some level because how can you not tie it into a reflection of what you do on a regular basis? And I'm not saying that anyone should, should is a bad word. I don't like that word. And I don't want to encourage anyone to ever beat themselves up for where they are. It's more of taking the power back of saying, this is what it is. This is how I got here. I don't really like, or maybe I do like what's here. And I'm going to continue to do that because if you look at objectively how we handle business, how we handle money, sometimes how we handle relationships, even we can have that sort of objective conversation. But when it comes to our bodies, because it's so personal, and there's so many messages in the world about the shoulds. And, this is one of the reasons why I am such a weirdo in the fitness industry. I've never, ever, 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 ever loved being a part of what the culture is in the fitness industry because the fitness industry, let's be honest, and the diet industry uses shame. They use shame to keep you in line. Personal trainers and fitness people and yoga. I mean, there's like so much shame that goes on. And it's taken 20 years of my digging deeper to get to the bottom line of why? Who cares? Why does anybody want to look better? Why does anybody care what they look like? Like, really, let's get to the root of this. And that's been my journey to uncover, like, let's change this conversation because the more we keep talking about how many calories you ate and how exercise tracking and logging and this diet and that diet, we're missing the point. Because anyone who is rich and miserable can tell you that they have everything in the world they possibly could want, and it doesn't give them what they're seeking. And anybody who has a perfect model type body or whatever you think is perfect body type, right? You can find 100 people, and out of those 100 people, I guarantee you at least 50% of them are depressed or are unhappy in some area of their life. Perfect body, whatever you want to think it is for you, does not equate happiness or success, except in that very small frame of reference in which you're looking at it, which is maybe that it's a certain size or it's a number on a scale, but it means nothing. It means whatever it means to you, but it doesn't have to. So I think the body shame conversation can go deeper and wider in really getting to the root of what it is we each hold and what we each want, and being able to love ourselves, like you said, at any size, at any level, but having some consciousness about that and having an understanding that you have a journey, and that part of the spirituality that I bring to my work and to my new shows and being able to step into the world in that way is to say, there's a path for me, there's a journey, and at any journey, any part of this journey, I can change it whenever I want to. And when I want to feel best, then I'm going to treat myself better, or I'm going to decide those things. Right. So I think for each individual, it's going to change a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And, it is an individual journey. And, I want to tap back into something that you said early on, which is it wasn't so much about what you were going to look like, but how you wanted to feel. And one of the things that I know about being a business leader, an entrepreneur, whatever we, give our business orientation to, I see a huge epidemic right now of people who don't feel well. And so it holds them back from being able to really leap. And I see it affecting their confidence. And so what's your take on that? And like, how much is this mind body, connection, mind body spirit connection playing into the way we're fueling ourselves for business success?
That's a really great and very deep question that would take another few hours to fully flush out.
Give me
But
the high notes.
I know. Let me try to give you the high notes on that without missing too much. So you mentioned fuel. So there's a couple different ways we fuel ourselves, right? There's the way that we eat. There's the way that we take care of ourselves, whether we get enough sleep, whether we get good quality sleep, whether we take supplements or things like that, whether we do self-care, and whether we unplug and rest and rejuvenate. So in terms of fuel, that's all like the physical side, but there's also the spiritual and emotional side. Do we actually focus on things that empower us, or do we feel disempowered? So in terms of business leaders, again, it's that whole sort of psychological profile and behavioral patterns that one can start to look at and dissect and say, where am I not living my best life? Like where are my patterns taking me on a road that creates, let's say, anxiety, for instance? People have a lot of anxiety for many, many reasons, but one of the main things that contributes to anxiety that I have found over the years is our food. And people don't realize that it's our food because we're not looking at labels. We're not learning about what's in our food. We're just eating things. So things like, I just did a segment on the CW in San Diego a couple weeks ago about focus foods for kids. Well, guess what? The same focus foods for kids are the same focus foods for adults. It's not because they're 8 or 10 years old that they affect them any differently, except that it has been proven clinically that using dyes in children's foods will reduce their IQ. All right. So now think about an adult that consumes a lot of dye. This is going to be getting in the way of your focus and in your brain activity from the electromagnetic frequencies we have that are rampant in our lives from our devices and our televisions, and whether we unplug or not, from the foods that we're eating. So a true plan for a business owner when it comes to wanting to stay powered up and fueled up naturally, like you said, from the inside out, we got to start with what our self-care routine is. Because if we're lacking in energy and we're being distracted by our lack of digestion or by what's going on with us physically, then you can't be present for what's going on in your business.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I've seen it for myself. I'm always trying to get my clients off sugar and adding in fuel foods, high quality, highly nutritious food, which does not include, not normally including carbs, right? It's the vegetables and things that actually have life in them. And it's amazing how many people are addicted to the foods that make them feel the crappiest.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because it gives a temporary high. It's the
Right,
sugar and the caffeine that they think, oh, I need that to keep going.
right.
But you only need it because you're on this cycle. And if you take it all out, yes, you may crash for a week or two, but once you actually get powered up, then you're more sustainable. You don't have the same crash. You don't need the same chemicals and stimulus and serotonin boosts from something that's going to deplete you later. Because that's the other rub, is that when you're drinking too much caffeine can cause adrenal fatigue. Well, no amount of caffeine when you have adrenal fatigue is going to power you. You're not going to feel caffeinated. You're not going to feel energetic. You're going to feel foggy. You're going to feel tired, like you can't get out of this fatigue because you have adrenal fatigue. And coffee is only going to make it worse, or caffeine, doesn't have to be coffee. And and same thing with sugar. Sugar gives you a temporary high, but also crashes you. So it's this cycle that like, oh, but I need more. Oh, but I need more. And next thing you know, your body chemistry is all out of balance. You can't rejuvenate and replenish your stores, and you're not sleeping well. So of course you're never going to feel optimal, and you keep thinking it's adding in these other things, and it's an addiction. So yes, removing them is a great way to start. Reducing them is a great way to start. Replacing them is even better. Start by replacing, then reducing, and then eliminating if you can.
JJ, we're talking about giving energy and things that take away focus, but I'm wondering, for business leaders, entrepreneurs, people who are, really going for bigger dreams, bigger levels of success, are there things that you've seen people do and not realize they're doing things that are stealing energy, momentum, confidence away from themselves?
Most people are going to think this is counterintuitive, and that's not your first gut reaction. When things get stressful, people think, oh, I have to hunker down and work harder, and
Mm-hmm.
I have to be there more, and I have to burn the candle at both ends because I have to be present, because I have to fix it. That's usually what we go into fight or flight, and that's usually how we respond. But that's exactly how we hurt ourselves, is because we don't take into consideration the physical and mental and emotional effects that that time frame has on you. So in terms of what things that steal our energy and confidence, because you're only as good as you are whole, and you're only able to handle the challenge at hand if you're fully optimally healthy and functioning. And you're not fully optimally healthy and functioning if you're lacking sleep, you're over caffeinated, you can't focus, your digestion's off, you have unexpressed emotion that is weighing you down. So now maybe there's some physical pain as well as a lack of focus, and you feel ADD. And then there's just this general maybe dread or worry, or you can't sleep at night because of the anxiety. In those situations, that's the exact time to start putting in self-care. Doesn't mean you have to not do your work. It just means besides delegating as much as you possibly can, that's the time where you have an acupuncture treatment. That's the time where you call the therapist or have a coaching session. That's the time where you look at your food to make sure it is supporting you along this very stressful path. Because what happens 9 times out of 10 is that people get sick after this is over. They sustain their adrenals pump up, and they can sustain this crazy period for however long, and then they crash. And maybe they can sustain it till the project is over, but once the project is over and they go, oh, I can breathe now, then they get sick because their immunity can't handle it. So in terms of stealing your energy and confidence, it doesn't feel good to get through something like that and then to get sick, because you're like, oh my God, I got sick. It's that cycle of feeling like you didn't do it well enough. When you can learn how to change out certain foods, eliminate certain foods temporarily, go on a specific kind of program, add some herbs, make sure you're getting your acupuncture, make sure you're having your coaching session, make sure you express your feelings, earthing, go outside, read a book for 15 or 20 minutes with your feet in the dirt or in the sand or on the grass. There are small things that you can do on a regular basis that will not eat up too much of your time, that you can build into your routine, whether it be your morning routine or your evening routine or your lunch routine. You can build it in, and all of a sudden now you're helping your body, you're helping your energy sustain during this really tough time.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And I'm a huge fan of taking space. I feel more creative, more powerful. I get more momentum by taking space and then coming back to things, which you're right. It's like exactly counterintuitive to what most people think they should do. And, I've suffered from burnout. I have to tell you, one of my most popular podcast episodes up to now has been the one I did on burnout, because I think people are very confused about how to push to that next level of success and do it in a sustainable way. So I'm really glad you're kind of bringing light to that. I think you talk about that in your book as well. And speaking of your book, you brought a lot of light to this idea of the mind, body, soul integration. And I want to bring this into the conversation because it's, different people interpret that differently, right? It's like it means something different to a lot of different people. And I think sometimes people think that's a little woo-woo for a business conversation, but in my experience, it's one of the most powerful muscles we can build to really expand our impact and our great success. So can you talk a little bit about what that means to you and why it is such a vitality tool for us?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a great story. Actually, there is a gentleman who found one of my podcasts, Spirit, Purpose, and Energy, back in January. He had just gone through a divorce, or was going through a divorce, and moved out, and he was financially not in a good place. And so like the world was sort of crashing, and he found the podcast, and he found the 30-day manifestation challenge, and he came on that. He actually came in a week late. We started January 1st. He came in around January 5th and said, oh my God, I just found your podcast. Can I please, please, please join this group? I said, sure, because it's free. I said, but you're 5 days behind. No problem, no problem. Well, here we are. It's October. This is 9 months ago, and his finances are great. His life is great. And he actually just called me today to tell me he wants to start working with me and how much I've changed his life. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this is because all aspects of his life changed when he joined a spiritual law of attraction manifestation group. And that's the point. He surrendered in a way to say, what's going on? What am I doing wrong? What's not working? And how do I handle this in a new way to really get what I want? Because obviously what I'm doing isn't working to the best of its ability. And so through things like journaling and creative visualization and hypnosis and affirmations and being in this group, he has, I mean, he literally was in tears this morning on the phone telling me like he just wanted to thank me. And I kept saying, oh, well, we're co-creating together. Like you have to do that. He's like, no, 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 no. He's like, thank you. If I didn't find you, I don't know that I'd be here right now. And it's awesome to hear, of course, right? Because this is why we all do what we do. We want to help other people, but it's that idea that everything, especially the business side, is working because he understood. He took a broader perspective, and that's the spiritual perspective. Doesn't mean it has to be religious. Doesn't mean it has to be really. Doesn't have to mean anything. It can be that you just acknowledge that you're a speck on this earth and that there's something bigger than you. And how do you work with that energy? How do you have perspective? And how can that perspective create creativity for you? Like you were saying, I totally agree that part of what people can do to fuel themselves is to disconnect, is to take space, is to do fun things into play so that you can be enlightened and get those messages and downloads. And that's again where that spiritual piece comes in, because too many people think that they're like the small little, like my blinders are on and I'm just going to power through this. But then everything else breaks down and you go, well, what happened? Well, it's again, we're not working in a vacuum here. Like everything's connected. Everything is connected and everything is energy and everything's how we handle things and everything's how we interpret things. And so when you can expand, I don't know how many people have gone to like a planetarium. We go somewhat every couple of years when there's family in town that wants to go to Griffith Park. But we go into that auditorium where they're having, like the astrologies, the astronomy lessons, right? And whether you believe in a higher power or not, you have to be floored to be reminded that there are galaxies upon galaxies. Like we forget because we don't have perspective. We just think in this little box of my life. And when we're reminded again that we're a speck in the galaxy, then you can really fathom, oh, well, my problems don't seem as big today. and oh, is there energy out there that I can leverage? Oh, what's my purpose? Oh, the things happen for a reason. It just feels better to take a bigger perspective. And whatever you want to call that, be it spirituality or connection to a higher power or source or God or Buddha or whatever, it doesn't really matter. I don't care what you call it. But that perspective can shed a lot of light on and change and transform any stresses that you're going through and help you feel a little bit more connected to other people and a little less stressed out about trying to make something happen.
Yeah, I love that integration, really integrating all of those pieces, the perceptions, the ideas, the beliefs, and kind of channeling that into how do I have a more enjoyable life? Really, that's what it's all about. And keeping that perspective is huge. So I'm very intrigued by this 30-day manifestation challenge. You just mentioned it. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Tell me a little bit about it and how could we participate in it?
The 30-day manifestation challenge is a free 30-day Facebook group that I created along with some tools that you get for free while you're on the program for the 30 days. You have access to a bunch of creative visualizations and affirmations and actually energetic clearing audios that help you to remove energetic blocks. Especially there's one on removing inherited emotional DNA of scarcity, which is really powerful. And so it's free. It came out of the work I do on Spirit, Purpose, and Energy, which is one of my podcasts. And people commune together and share stories, and we keep each other accountable during that 30 days to be doing a practice. And the practice changes. The practice for a couple months, and I don't do it every month, but I do it a couple times a year. The practice started out just using the creative visualization because what happened for me, when I learned about law of attraction and frequency, because for those of you that have heard it, but maybe you think it's a little woo-woo, let me just start by saying that everyone would agree and understand without judgment that when you're listening to the radio and you change the dial even up one little notch, it changes the frequency, which changes the information you're getting on that radio. Well, our emotions are our frequencies, and we get to choose what we focus on, and we can alter and be deliberate about how we want to feel in order to attract things at a higher level. So in terms of manifestation, it doesn't matter what you're trying to manifest. It's all the same. Everyone wants to feel better and have a better life. So it doesn't really matter if it's money or a relationship or better health. I created the group because people wanted to find other like-minded individuals to support them. And then also to be held accountable in doing the 7-minute, 10-minute practice every day to help you raise your vibration and frequency. Because the higher your vibration and frequency, the better you feel. And that's going to help everything in your life, from your business to your health to your relationships.
That's exactly what I've been experiencing as well. So thank you for putting it in so concise way. We will have a link on the show page for how to participate in JJ's 30-day manifestation challenge. If you're anxious and you don't want to wait, it's fit2love.tv/30daym. I hope you'll take the challenge with JJ. There is nothing more powerful than integrating all of these elements and being a part of a community that's all on the same page, going towards a new level of success and doing it together. It's very bonding and it's very empowering. So I love that you're doing this, JJ.
Thank you. I got it as a download while I was driving one day. I'm
Where
like,
all great ideas are born, either there or in the shower.
Right, in the shower, during a workout, while you're driving. I was like, oh my gosh. And I tested it out last year with a bunch of friends because I wanted to do it for myself and I wanted accountability, because I believe that in order to get to make real change in your life in any area, you have to have accountability from someone other than yourself. So that's how I've grown every year in every way, is always by accountability, whatever, for business, for money, for health. Always have accountability and support, because that's how you're going to make real change.
Yeah, thanks, JJ.